Since it's Father's Day this month, I thought it might be quite interesting to do some dad-centric topics. And the first one that sprung to mind was testosterone and how to boost that naturally, because a lot of my male clients tend to have this particular issue, and they have often asked how they can naturally increase testosterone levels. So testosterone itself is an anabolic steroid hormone. Really, really important for metabolism, for sex drive, for muscle building, mood regulation, memory, cognitive function, a huge number of things, a really, really important hormone. And normal testosterone levels will generally result in optimal weight, so normalization of weight. And also it lowers the risk of degenerative diseases like certain cancers, osteoporosis, heart disease, diabetes. So all around it's a pretty important hormone. It tends to peak in the 20s and then drops off by about 10% every decade. And low testosterone levels, called male andropause, can result in lower libido, lack of drive, decreased muscle mass, depression. It can also lead to increased body fat. Okay, so that's often why a lot of my clients want to know how to raise testosterone, because they're struggling with fat around the middle, and they understand that testosterone lowers as they get older. So that's kind of the first place they go to. High stress levels are another thing that will reduce testosterone, and low testosterone levels, what will happen when testosterone levels are low is that testosterone can be converted into estrogen, and estrogen you don't want a lot of as a male because that can lead to estrogen dominance, and that has its own set of problems. The other things actually that can significantly lower testosterone are also exposure to radiofrequency electromagnetic radiation, so Wi-Fi, cell phones, also estrogen mimicking compounds. So sometimes you have to think about the pollutants you're exposed to. Even simple things like plastics in the home or synthetic materials in the home that are outgassing chemicals, those compounds can be estrogen mimicking, and then that can result in possible estrogen dominance too when it's coupled with low testosterone. So it's a bit of a messy picture. In terms of boosting testosterone naturally, some of the best ways to do that are through high intensity exercise. So that might be high-intensity interval training. It could also be explosive, maximum resistance overload on the muscles. So some weight bearing with external weight, maximum resistance. So very high-intensity explosive work. And ideal types of exercises would be compound exercises. So isolation exercises are single joint exercises. So maybe for example, a bicep curl is a single joint exercise, but a squat, a burpee, a deadlift, those are all multi-joint exercises. So across at least 2 or more joints. And those would be ideal to bring in order to raise natural levels of testosterone. Sessions should also be quite short because it's quite explosive and it's high intensity. Anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes would be ideal, with short rest periods in between. So there's a lot more that you can do, but and without getting into too much detail, I would suggest also that you follow a non-inflammatory diet, an anti-inflammatory diet, and that in a very, very simple nutshell would include reducing sugars, reducing grains, because those two foods can potentially be quite inflammatory, reducing poor fat choices, so your hydrogenated fats, your adulterated fats, but increasing your high quality fats, so things like your coconut fats and grass-fed butters and organic olive oils and nut oils and maybe avocado oils and those sorts of things, and also changing the meat you eat so that you are buying clean sources of protein, ideally organic, and ideally raised, well, from my point of view, ideally raised ethically and humanely, That's typically what you get from organic, but you want to look at the quality of the protein that you're consuming as well. So more for dads later this month, and I hope that information has been useful.